Hello everyone, my name is Dr. Yonit Arthur. I'm an audiologist and strength coach, and you are on the Steady Coach. Today I'm here to talk about a very important issue that comes up a lot on my channel, and that is why people with different neural circuit dizziness diagnoses have different outcomes. So what you've probably noticed is that included in this umbrella term that I call neural circuit dizziness are several different symptom-based diagnoses. Those diagnoses include PPPD, which is persistent postural perceptual disorder, MdDS, Malda-de-Barkmann syndrome, vestibular migraine, and others like phobic vertigo, like chronic subjective dizziness, sometimes Meniere's disease when it's a diagnosis based on symptoms, and more. I'm going to link to a video above and in the video description below where I go more into depth on what neural circuit dizziness is. But to sum it all up here, neural circuit dizziness simply means that your brain is creating your symptoms. They're real, they're happening physiologically in your body, but they're not being caused by tissue damage or disease. They're being caused by the brain making what I call a prediction error. Your brain is predicting incorrect information, and therefore when information comes in from your senses, your brain is like, what does this mean? And it gives you symptoms. Now, PPPD, MdDS, and vestibular migraine in particular are symptom-based diagnoses. This means that the only difference between them is the types of symptoms that you walk in with when you go to the doctor's office. There's no laboratory test or imaging test or any other kind of medical exam that can differentiate between these three things. They're based only on your history and your symptoms. This is why on my channel, I often say that it doesn't matter so much to me which you were diagnosed with. And I want to clarify here that I'm not in any way, shape, or form trying to downplay how awful it is to have any one of these three conditions. I think that having symptoms all the time is particularly awful. And I also think that being told you have an incurable condition is particularly awful too. So we're going to talk about how that plays into this story in a moment. But what I want to start by saying is that I've worked with people who got one diagnosis from one physician and a different diagnosis from another physician, and then a third specialist thinks something different. I've seen people with MdDS diagnoses who meet the criteria for PPPD. I've seen people who were diagnosed with PPPD have MdDS symptoms. I've seen people with vestibular migraine overlap with both. Again, there's no clear differentiation between these three syndromes because they're symptom-based and they're not based on medical or laboratory testing. Again, that doesn't change in any way, shape, or form that they're real and they're having a horrible impact on you, but there is a difference around the messaging surrounding these syndromes, and there is a difference, therefore, in my opinion, on the rates of recovery. So you've probably noticed, if you've read comments on my channel, that people who have the MdDS diagnosis are particularly hopeless feeling. You've also probably seen that they're particularly frustrated and sometimes very upset with some of the things that I talk about on my channel. Again, this is interesting to me because I've worked with so many people with PPPD diagnoses who have purely MdDS symptoms. They have classic MdDS symptoms. They were just given the label PPPD. Again, it's symptom-based, so this can happen very easily. The main difference, from my perspective, in these three conditions and recovery rates is that people with PPPD are told that there are treatments. They're told it's going to be hard. They're told the recovery rates aren't great, but they're told that there is some possibility of recovery. Same with vestibular migraine. They're not necessarily told they can recover, but they're told their symptoms can at least be managed. They're told there are medications that help. It's just a migraine. There are diets you can do to help, etc. They're given some message that there is some way out of this. People with MdDS are not. They're often told you have an incurable neurological condition. That is literally written on the Malda de Barkmont Foundation website, that it's an incurable neurological condition. So is it any wonder, again, given that I see people with exactly the same symptoms, but who are given different diagnoses, that people with MdDS diagnoses often have the most difficulty recovering? Well, it really makes sense, doesn't it? We already know, I think this is pretty well agreed upon at this point, even by people who don't share my views about stress and anxiety, that with PPPD and MdDS in particular, we're dealing with a neural circuit. We're dealing with some kind of sensory integration problem. We're dealing with an issue in which the brain is not correctly interpreting and using information coming in from the senses. It's predicting one thing, but it's getting different information, and that creates symptoms. So why should MdDS be any different from PPPD in terms of people's ability to recover? In my opinion, it's all about the messaging that people are getting. From my perspective, you're dealing with a neural circuit that is being perpetuated. It's being caused to continue by messages of danger, by danger mode in the brain, by stress, emotional stuff, things that are difficult that have happened to you in the past, and sometimes even the pressure we'd put on ourselves via our own personality or desires or beliefs. So if danger mode is really the primary driver of neural circuit dizziness, and it truly is in my experience, and you can look around my channel to see this. People comment all the time. My symptoms went down by 90% just by watching this video. That's not typical, but you see that a lot. Because neural circuit dizziness is driven by danger mode, when people are given dangerous messages, like you have an incurable neurological condition, their brains go up to danger mode and they don't come back down. When you believe that there is something wrong with your body, that there is some tissue damage or disease or genetic condition that you can't change, danger mode just stays active forever and you're gonna keep having symptoms. Likewise, if you understand that what we're dealing with is a neural circuit, but we haven't been able to get to the root of the stress that's keeping it going, symptoms are going to persist. And what I find is that with PPPD and vestibular migraine, I have a much easier time explaining to people and demonstrating to people that this is the case, not because they have any difference in their symptoms necessarily at all. It's just because of the diagnostic label they've been given. So I hope that clears things up a little bit. If you're suffering from any of these three conditions, I have seen people like you recover. I don't think that it matters how long you've had them. It's just a matter of understanding where this danger mode is coming from and resolving whatever stressors or emotional stuff is keeping it going. In many cases, it's simply fear and harmful messages that you've been given by well-meaning professionals and by scary articles on the internet or stories on social media sites. I really, really believe you can recover. I see it all the time. So please don't be discouraged, no matter which of these three ailments or any of the other neural circuit dizziness conditions. I hope this was helpful for you guys. And to learn more, I highly recommend checking out some of my other videos on here. I'll link a few below that you can check out. You can also consider taking my course. It is 100% free. I will also link to that in the video description. And it is intended for people with any kind of chronic dizziness disorder, including ones that involve 24/7 symptoms that are not provoked by movement, like with MdDS type symptoms. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe to my channel, and I look forward to your comments and questions below. I'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for tuning in.